The Galactic Concord believed humans were weak. Every alien species had laughed when Earth asked to join the interstellar community. Humans were small, fragile, and slow. Their weapons were primitive. Their ships could barely travel fast enough to reach Mars without months of planning. Most species thought they were emotional, unpredictable, and unworthy of respect. Commander Zythar of the Krell Dominion agreed. He was tall, with skin like polished copper and eyes that glowed like molten metal. He had fought hundreds of wars, conquered dozens of star systems, and never once failed. So when he heard that Earth refused to hand over mining rights to a rich asteroid belt, he felt amused. "You cannot be serious," Zythar said, as he loomed over the small human ambassador Daniel Hayes. The room aboard the neutral station was cold, bright, and empty except for a few Krell officers who watched silently. Daniel stood calmly, his human face steady, hands clasped behind his back. "We are serious," Daniel replied. "Earth will not surrender its rights. Our people depend on this." Zythar laughed, a deep rumbling sound that shook the walls. "Your people, you are insignificant. One planet, one species. You are nothing compared to the Krell Dominion." Daniel did not flinch. He looked directly into Zythar's glowing eyes. "Then perhaps you have underestimated us." The Krell were not used to defiance, especially from humans. Most species cowered. They begged. They surrendered. But humans, they were different. Zythar decided to teach them a lesson. In a swift motion, he raised his hand. A bright blade of energy extended, and Daniel was gone before anyone could react. The room was silent, except for the soft hum of the station's systems. The Krell officers exchanged glances, satisfied with their leader's decisive action. Zythar smiled. "That will teach them." Back on Earth, the human embassy received a single message before all communications went dark. "Ambassador Hayes has been killed." Silence followed. The Krell expected panic, submission, maybe fear. What they got instead was nothing. The humans did not beg. They did not cry. They did not attack immediately. They disappeared. All human embassies across the galaxy closed. Every communication channel went offline. Surveillance probes detected strange energy spikes across the Sol system. The Krell Dominion tried to trace the signals but found nothing. Commander Zythar grew uneasy.
"Where are they?" he demanded. "They must respond."
They must show fear. But the humans were not showing fear. They were preparing. Then, one by one, the signs appeared. Small ships that humans had always claimed were for research were moving in precise formations. Asteroid mining stations were converted into defense outposts. Earth's fleets, once considered slow and obsolete, began to vanish from trade routes, only to appear in strange strategic positions across the system. The Concord sent diplomats, asking for peace, asking for explanation, asking for mercy. Every message went unanswered. Humans had learned quickly. Silence could be a weapon too. Weeks later, the first reports of human movement reached the Krell. Fleets were no longer disorganized. Every ship had a purpose. Every action had meaning. The humans were not retreating. They were observing, calculating, preparing. Zythar felt the first twinge of fear. He had killed a single human. He had assumed it would end their pride, their stubbornness, their defiance. He was wrong. Humanity did not collapse, it adapted. It learned, and it was coming for him. For the first time in centuries, Commander Zythar realized that underestimating humans had been a mistake. A deadly mistake, and it had just begun. Weeks after Ambassador Hayes' death, the first human fleet appeared. The Krell Dominion had expected chaos, fear, and surrender. Instead, they faced calculation, precision, and determination. The ships were not large like Krell war carriers. They were smaller, modular, and strange in design. Their surfaces were covered with unusual weapon ports, and their movements were unpredictable. To the Krell, it looked like chaos. But it was anything but. Commander Zythar watched from his command ship as the humans approached. "They cannot be serious," he said. "Those ships will not survive our plasma cannons for a second." They responded with physics. High-velocity kinetic strikes flew from the human ships. Giant metal projectiles, moving at speeds no Krell shield could handle, tore through their vessels like paper. Plasma blasts bounced harmlessly off human shields, which seemed almost primitive, but worked perfectly against Krell energy weapons. "Impossible!" shouted one Krell officer. "Their technology, it is—" "Wrong." Zythar gritted his teeth. "Wrong? No. Clever. They have studied us, every weakness, every pattern, every flaw, and they are exploiting it." Indeed, the humans had studied the Krell carefully. They did not need massive firepower. They needed strategy, unpredictability, and clever solutions. One human ship would lure a Krell cruiser into a trap. Another would appear out of nowhere, hitting an exposed section no one had thought to defend. Cyber warfare followed the physical attacks. Human AI infiltrated Krell defense networks, learning in real time. Shield patterns, weapon sequences, fleet formations. Everything was analyzed and turned against the Krell. It was a war unlike any the Dominion had fought before. Even more disturbing was the humans' persistence. Ships that should have been destroyed returned, repaired in the middle of battle. Soldiers who should have been injured were still fighting. Medics rushed toward the wounded without fear. Zythar realized something terrifying. Humans did not fight like other species. They were relentless. Across Krell systems, panic spread. Reports came in from fleets across dozens of sectors. Krell ships shattered in ways no one thought possible. Strategic stations were captured, not destroyed, as humans used them as bases. Every time the Krell adapted, humans adapted faster. Back on Earth, the leaders monitored the progress with calm efficiency. Daniel Hayes was gone, but humanity had not forgotten him. Every move in the human fleet carried a single message. They would not forgive. They would not surrender. Zythar called an emergency meeting. "We underestimated them," he admitted. "We killed one human thinking it would scare them. Instead, we awakened them. And now, they are better than us at everything we thought we could control." The Krell tried conventional tactics, mass attacks, energy barrages, ambushes. Every attempt failed. Humans predicted patterns, avoided traps, or used the Krell's own technology against them. It became clear to the Dominion that this was not just a battle. It was a war of intelligence, willpower, and creativity. Krell forces could match humans in numbers, strength, and firepower, but they could not match their ingenuity. And then the message came, simple and terrifying. "You killed one of us. Now you will learn what that means." Zythar felt a cold dread in his chest. The humans were not just fighting. They were teaching a lesson. And for the first time in centuries, he feared defeat. In the blink of an eye, a single decision, the execution of one human, had set the stage for a war no alien had ever imagined. And Commander Zythar was beginning to realize that humans were not just survivors. They were the perfect storm, and the storm was only getting stronger. The Krell Dominion had never seen fear like this before, not in centuries of war, not against countless species across dozens of systems. And yet, they felt it now. Fear born not of strength, but of determination. Commander Zythar sat in his command chamber, staring at the data streaming across the screens. Every Krell ship destroyed, every outpost captured, every defense network hacked. It was all the work of humans. One species, small and fragile by every measure, was tearing apart his empire. "They are unstoppable," whispered a Krell officer. His voice shook. "How can one species do this?" Zythar clenched his fists. "We must understand them," he said. "We must find their weakness." But there was no weakness. Not the one the Krell expected. Krell scientists studied the humans who fought in the fleet. They examined their physiology, their brains, their reflexes. They found humans evolved on a death world, Earth. High gravity, violent weather, predators, disease. Every human grew up learning to survive in impossible conditions. Pain tolerance was high, recovery rates were fast, adrenaline responses extreme. They healed, they adapted, they endured, and they never gave up. The Krell realized something else, something terrifying. Humans did not fight for glory, for conquest, or for wealth. They fought for each other. They fought for every life lost. Every death of a human was a spark that lit the fire of vengeance and determination. Ambassador Daniel Hayes had not been just a diplomat. He had been a father, a scientist, a teacher, a friend. His death had not been forgotten. Every human knew it, and that knowledge drove them faster, smarter, stronger. The Krell scientists reported to Zythar, "Commander, they are different. Their emotions are weapons. Their pain is fuel. They fight with purpose we cannot predict, with creativity we cannot counter." Zythar's chest tightened. He had fought species who used hive minds, species who could survive in vacuum, species who wielded weapons capable of destroying moons. Humans were none of these, yet humans were defeating them all, and in ways the Krell could not understand. The Concord grew worried. Leaders from dozens of allied species sent urgent messages. The humans, they will not stop. The Krell were not exaggerating. Fleet after fleet reported the same thing. Humans adapted faster than any system could anticipate. One failed attack led to 10 new strategies, each more dangerous than the last. Even more disturbing were the messages coming from human-controlled sectors. They were simple, clear, terrifying in their meaning. You killed one of us. Now you will learn what it means to fight all of us. Zythar realized that this war was not just about territory. It was about the consequences of underestimating humans. One life had become more than a casualty. It had become a symbol. And symbols were powerful. Across the Dominion, reports came in of unexpected attacks. Krell generals were captured alive, not executed. Ships were disabled, not destroyed. Yet in every encounter, humans demonstrated control, precision, and intelligence far beyond what the Krell had imagined. They could strike anywhere, anytime, and adapt instantly. For the first time, Zythar understood the truth about humans. They were unpredictable. They were unstoppable when united. They were not just survivors. They were a force of nature, born of struggle and hardship, refined by determination and love for each other. And he knew, deep in his core, that killing Ambassador Hayes had been the single worst decision of his life. For the first time, the Krell Dominion faced a reality they could not escape. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not fear. Humans did not forget. And the more they resisted, the stronger humans became. Zythar looked at the fleet displays and realized the terrifying truth. Humanity was coming for them, and there was no turning back. The Krell homeworld loomed ahead like a jewel of copper and steel, spinning silently in the void. Commander Zythar watched from his bridge as the human fleet approached. Their numbers were not overwhelming, but their presence was undeniable. Ships glinted in formation, moving with a precision and coordination no one could ignore. "This is impossible," muttered a Krell officer. "They should be tired. They should be outnumbered. They should not be here." Zythar's glowing eyes scanned the fleet. He had expected attacks, bombs, plasma fire, anything that could be measured. But the humans did not fire, not yet. They hovered at the edge of orbit, silent and steady, like a storm waiting to break. A message appeared on the Krell screens. Simple.
Clear, human.
"You killed one of us. Now you will learn the cost." Zythar's tentacles twitched. He had fought countless enemies. He had seen civilizations crumble under his command. Yet this was something new. Fear settled into his chest like ice. From Earth, humanity had developed technologies that no Krell mind could fully comprehend. Ships could manipulate gravitational fields, redirect asteroids, even influence planetary weather patterns. They could reshape entire landscapes, but they had not used these powers to destroy. Not yet. Instead, they demonstrated control. They reshaped asteroid paths to block Krell supply routes. They adjusted gravity wells to slow approaching fleets. Every move was a message. Humans could destroy the Krell, but they chose not to. Yet, the Krell fleet panicked. Orders conflicted. No one knew how to respond. Plasma cannons fired blindly into empty space. Defense shields were scrambled unnecessarily. The human ships moved around every attack like water flowing past rocks. Exithar realized, with growing horror, that humanity's strength was not just in their ships or weapons. It was in their will, their determination, their unity. Every human fought not for themselves alone, but for every person who had been lost. Every death fueled their precision, their strategy, their creativity, and humanity was not cruel. They offered the Krell a chance: surrender and learn, or resist and face annihilation. Zythar called a council. We cannot fight them, he said, voice trembling. They are beyond anything we imagined. You killed one of them, another officer said quietly. A single human. And now we face all of them. Zythar nodded. He understood. Every calculation, every strategy, every weapon the Krell had depended on was useless against this force. It was not just technology. It was ingenuity, emotion, and an unbreakable will. The Kale Dominion had no choice. They sent a signal. Surrender. Apology. Treaty. Anything to survive. Humans accepted but made their point clear. They would teach, they would protect, and they would never forget. And humanity left one undeniable lesson etched into the minds of every Krell. Underestimate a human at your own peril. The Concord, observing from afar, realized the truth. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest, nor the most advanced. But they were something far more dangerous, relentless, clever, adaptable, and united. One human death had awakened an unstoppable force. Commander Zythar watched as the human fleet departed, leaving the Krell homeworld intact, but changed forever. His species had survived, but they had learned the hard way. Humans are not creatures to be dismissed. Back on Earth, fleets returned to orbit, crews celebrating quietly. No one forgot Ambassador Hayes. His death had been the spark, but humanity had turned that spark into a flame that would burn in the memory of every alien species. And the Krell, and all who had doubted humans, would remember for generations. If you harm a human, you do not face an individual, you face all of them. And that was why the aliens quickly regretted killing a human.